Hello and welcome back to another episode of More Than a Business Live. My name is Mitch Case. I will be your host today. I am also the co-founder of More Than a Meal, where my wife and I just started this company that basically we work with organizations to help them strengthen their relationships with their employees and clients by showing gratitude, appreciation, and empathy one meal at a time. The reason I started this show is I just found a space that we wanted to highlight leaders within organizations that truly operate as more than a business. What is it about those organizations that truly take them above and beyond? Is it just about profit? Probably not. But we get to highlight these guests every single week on Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. Part of this is obviously possible because of the amazing guests that we have, but we also have a sponsor, True Captive, that has helped this show get started and continue to go. So they believe in healthcare that is personal and insurance that isn't complicated, which I think we can all appreciate that. So if you do want to learn more about this unique captive healthcare program, go on over to truecaptive.com, or you can shoot me a message. I'd be happy to get you connected with somebody over there. But thank you to True Captive for continuing to sponsor this show and make this possible and grow. So with that, I want to go ahead and get our guests in here. Michael and I originally met on LinkedIn, had great conversations. And anytime you have like over 100 plus connections on LinkedIn, I just know that there's a good quality individual behind that screen. And I always love to take those off. And after our first conversation, we just had a really good synergy in the reasons that why we want to build things to help others and just be better business leaders in general. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and welcome Mr. Michael Smith with Fortium Partners to the show. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on, man.
No, thank you, Mitch. And yeah, I've watched your previous episodes, and I always thought, boy, it'd be great to be on the podcast. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, I feel like we've made it now that people want to come to the show versus me reaching out to them all the time. So I definitely appreciate the kind words with that. But like I said on that intro, it was a no-brainer after we had our first conversation. So why don't you go ahead and give us like high level, who is this Michael Smith guy and what does Fortium Partners do so that we can dive into the rest of the show?
All right. Well, first of all, I'm not the chef in Kansas City. So I've been in the
great restaurant, by the way.
Yes, it is. It is. Been in the IT industry over 27 years, and probably the last 18 or so years have been in healthcare and biotechnology and biopharma, and also in technology leadership as a CIO, as a segment CIO for different companies, both publicly traded, private profit, nonprofits, and associations that I've had the opportunity to work in those industries and as a technology leader, and I've really enjoyed that space.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit more about Fortium real quick.
Yeah. So Fortium Partners is a leadership as a service firm. So they're the largest firm of that nature in the United States. And they have about 175 partners across the United States providing CIO, CTO, and CISO services for companies of all sizes, Fortune 100, all the way to maybe a company that may only have 10 or 20 employees. Yeah, and across all different industries. And so yeah, I've really enjoyed partnering with them and working with them.
Yeah, well, I know I appreciated just from our original conversation, the work that you're getting to do and help and support those businesses. And we'll definitely get more into that here in just a little bit. But before we do, let's dive into the impact story. You know, what is something that you have done personally or potentially even Fortium that has had a positive impact on a team member, a client, or even a community member?
Yeah. So I think one of the interesting things being in the technology industry is looking at the impact that technology can have, not only on a company, but also just on a group of individuals. When you think about technology, a lot of companies will look at that as a way of generating efficiencies, generating more revenue, driving innovation of new products. But also, if you strip all that away, the impact that technology can have on just individuals and their life in itself. And so case in point, worked with a number of different companies that specifically from a financial perspective, what they would have to do on a monthly basis to make sure that they were able to successfully close the books for that particular company. They were going through a massive number of steps and processes that would take them 3 to 4 business days to close out certain things related to the books, which, again, is not uncommon, but it was just very manual and very arduous for them to do that. And as we kind of sat down with them and kind of understood how they were following that process, they didn't even realize that there were some tools within the technology platform that would automate a lot of that process. And so they were able to eliminate probably 85% of that manual process to streamline that. And what that does for an individual, number one, I mean, it provides them a significant amount of confidence in the fact that they feel that they're able to understand and take advantage of technology. But you also think about all the time that frees them up as an individual. Because people that work in companies are husbands and wives and fathers and mothers and sons and daughters. And when they're able to utilize technology to streamline how they do their job, it frees them up to be able to focus on what's even more important in their lives, which is their personal lives, and at least having a life outside of work. So
yeah, I appreciate that, because there's always this, the double-edged sword, I guess, so to speak, in the sense that, oh, technology is taking jobs away from people and all of this kind of stuff. And I see that, I'm on the tech side of things, on this view of it's never going to replace the human being aspect of things. There's still always going to be that component, but it allows them to be more efficient in their day. And maybe that frees up 10, 20 extra hours a week for them to focus on something that can further the business, or it keeps them from working an extra 10 or 20 hours in overtime, or going to the places that they truly want to be, at the soccer practice, the games, all the different things, instead of having to be that parent that, I'm raising my hand in the side of guilty of like, oh, it's 6 o'clock, dad's still not home from work, I just need to get this one more thing done. But if tech can remove that piece and I can be the dad that shows up on time every time, boy, that's going to make me a much happier wife when I return home, as well as a team member when I show up the next day and my wife and I didn't have an argument over the same thing again and again and again. So that's I appreciate you kind of bringing that to the table, in the sense that the impact it does is frees people of the time that they probably are going to feel like they need to spend to either climb the ladder, or basically you just get out of here, leave. You don't need to be here anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, I read a stat here several years ago that it's probably been a little over 100 years ago that the largest job position in the United States, that there were more people employed to do this job than in any other position in the country, was an elevator door person. So this would be somebody that when you'd walk into a building, they had an elevator, and some of those elevators were manual, some of them were somewhat automated, but we're talking about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You would always have somebody on the elevator that would take people up and down the floors. And then the introduction of the electronic capability of being able to use hydraulic pumps and move the elevators up and down, there is now no person employed in that industry unless it's a concierge type service, right? A very fancy hotel, a restaurant, or something like that. And yet the fear was that when that was first implemented, people thought that they were going to be losing jobs. But it created all these other jobs, engineering jobs, to create the components that would allow that elevator to work automatically without a person being involved. And so technology has that capability of bettering things within life, but also generating new employment opportunities that didn't even exist previously.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's going to service that thing? Who's going to all the different items? Yeah. So it takes one job away, and creates 4 or 5 others.
Exactly.
So yeah, dude, that's such a, I like talking the tech side of things because it's so polarizing, especially with AI right now, going crazy. So appreciate you bringing that up. I think we could probably talk on that for several hours on this side. So if anybody wants to chat more with Michael about that, we'll get you some contact info at the end of the show here. But let's transition into the next part of our show, which is truly the more than a business aspect. So what is it about Fortium that operates that truly is more than a business, not just the bottom line? Like, what is it about Fortium that brings that to the table?
Yeah, I think if, again, you strip everything away from Fortium, it's a people business. So you look at the organizations that Fortium supports. A number of things could be happening within that company. Number one, they're a relatively small company, but are growing rapidly. And now they've discovered we need to have some type of technology leadership, but they really don't know who they should hire or where they should go to find that technology leader. Well, Fortium, because they provide advisory, fractional, and interim CIO and CTO and CISO services, have the ability to create flexibility for that organization. So maybe they're not really sure at this particular point if they need a full-time technology leader. Well, they can bring in an advisory or a fractional resource. If they think that, yes, they need a full-time, but they still need to find time to discover who that permanent person is going to be, then Fortium would come in and provide that interim service and even help the organization hire who that permanent person would be. We're not an executive search firm. We're not a staff augmentation. We're a leadership as a service firm and gives the flexibility to organizations. But on the flip side, let's say you're an established company, and one of the concerning things that might happen in a company is a technology leader decides they're going to leave to take another opportunity, or unfortunately they're asked to leave to take another opportunity, and now there's this void and the company needs to react quickly. Again, they can reach out to Fortium with the flexibility and the cost structure that would allow that organization to be able to bring in a fractional interim, but for a period of time, and then no strings attached, right? So if that company wants to bring someone in and after 3 months, they've been able to find their permanent person, great. If we were able to help them, that's even better. So I think just the impact that Fortium has in providing options and flexibilities to companies that are both growing as well as those that may be transitioning from one leader to the next.
And if I understood Fortium correct, like you guys have pre-vetted leaders already kind of at the table, waiting for those opportunities to come in as interim, part-time, whatever that kind of looks like, fractional, I should say. What kind of opportunities, or have you seen any of this? Sorry, I did not prep you for this question by any means, but bringing in a new individual is going to see a lot of things that somebody else hadn't seen. So what does that even look like from an interim side of things, of like new ideas, fresh ideas that come in from this to help and grow this organization versus, not having those opportunities to have somebody new come in the organization and ask, like, why are you doing it this way?
Yeah, great question. So, and I think the model that really sets Fortium apart is based upon who can come on board and play that role for Fortium with Fortium's clients. Number one, you have to have served in the technology industry at least 25 years or more.
Wow.
You've had to have served as a CIO at least 2, if not 3 times or more in different companies. So what a client is receiving is an extremely experienced technology leader. So the likelihood that they're going to come into a situation and be caught off guard with the challenges that a company's having is relatively low, because these are incredibly experienced, talented individuals. And like I said, I've been in the IT industry over 27 years. I've been in technology leadership for 18 of those. I've been a CIO for a number of different companies. And so I think just getting that experience to allow an individual to come in completely cold into that new organization and help that organization either get something back on track or to continue with steady operations and innovation moving forward, there is a value that experience brings to the table that allows an organization to really propel forward quickly versus bringing in an inexperienced leader and then giving them time to kind of build everything out. And we all know time is money. And so to be able to do that quickly and position that company and help them then find the right person that would be the permanent long-term technology leader, that experience is extremely important as well.
What would you say? So let's kind of role play this a little bit. You've got a company that's 10 years old. CIO has just left for whatever reason, and you've got somebody coming in interim to help them. Like, what are some of the initial challenges? Because we always talk about like change in organizations can sometimes be rubbed the wrong way. So what do you see is like, if I were the CEO of that company, and I'm like, I don't know, like I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way. I don't want this person coming in and changing anything. Like, what would you say to like that individual as a company that is striving for more? And what are some of the challenges that those organizations face by bringing in an interim individual that's new to the team for an indefinite number of months?
Yeah, lots of variables are happening at that particular point in time, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So not only is there a transition of a different leader coming in, but someone that may and most likely have never been associated with that company before.
Hmm.
So internally, you have dynamics that if they already have an IT team, now that IT team is thinking, what is this person going to do? How's that going to impact my role? What's my future at the
Exactly.
company? Things like
Company
that.
morale, all of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The CEO is thinking that hopefully, and you expect that the CEO and the resource that's been brought in by Fortium, that they're having honest conversations, right? So the reason why this IT leader is no longer here, tell me why, right? Was it
Yeah.
their choice or was it your choice? Because depending upon which choice it was, is going to ultimately determine how that resource from Fortium is going to move the conversation forward. If
Got it.
someone
Yeah.
had left on their own, then chances are they left on good terms. Things may have been going well. It caught the company off guard. Versus if the company asked that particular IT leader to leave, well, why? Was it
Yeah.
because they were getting the organization to head in the wrong direction? Were they behind schedule and significant investment debt that may have been associated to projects they were running? So many
Sure.
different variables come into play there. But the first thing that happens is the resource and the CEO or the leadership of the company, which in some cases may be the board of directors as well, are having honest conversations, right? And really getting to the pain points that the organization is going through. And then that IT leader, again, if you're talking about a CIO, which is more of my expertise, is really helping the organization formulate what is your technology strategy going to be. So what are you ultimately trying to accomplish, or what were you working on when this transition happened? Whereas a CTO may be looking more at product innovation, new products coming out to the market. A CISO may be looking at you're needing to become much more rigid in your security practices, or you may need to become compliant in a certain area.
Yeah.
So there's so many different variables on there, but the biggest challenge is that new leader coming in. You want that person to be extremely experienced because all these dynamics are happening at the same time. And for them
Yeah.
to balance the fear of what an IT team may experience because a new leader comes in, while at the same time building confidence with the CEO, the leadership, the board of directors, that this individual can steady the ship and help the organization either get back on track or continue in their growth trajectory.
Yeah. And I just like one of the things that you just like hit on overarching, and I don't want to just simplify it as much as this, but it is an ongoing conversation, and all of these episodes that we've recorded, that the communication component of it removes so much of the mind wandering to different areas, whether you are that leader coming in or you are a team member that's going to report to that interim individual. Like, I just want to say, for any of those organizations that are going through these types of transitions or anything along those lines, like the clear, honest communication of this is what's happened, this is where we're going, this is what it's going to look like, can remove so much of that and just allow those organizations to, again, continue to row all in the same direction, even as there is this leadership change, which can be very disruptive through that process. So thank you for kind of clarifying some of that. And I just want people to hear that component. And it's seems simple and top of mind most of the times, but so often we just forget to like include everybody in some of those conversations. So thank you for clarifying that piece of it. Yeah, let's transition to the next part of the show, Michael, where we get to talk about you and let you brag about yourself as much as we possibly can here. So this section is really just kind of talking about you and your experience in leadership and C-suite components. Like, we recognize that every single day that we show up to work is we're not always going to be 100% of ourselves. There's some days where we have 20% and others that maybe we do have 100%. But what continues to motivate you to show up, serve the organizations that you are serving, whether those are interim services that you were providing, or even just within Fortium itself? Like, what continues to help you to show up and serve the people that you're blessed to serve?
Yeah, I think the short answer is I absolutely love what I do. And the technology industry was not my first choice. It's something that I actually fell into early in my career. So I went to college thinking I wanted to focus on banking and finance. Started taking
A little
some of
bit
the
different.
courses for banking and finance and realized, no, I guess that's not what I enjoy doing. And then for a period of time, I thought I wanted to be in theater because I enjoy acting and singing and wanted to be on Broadway. And
Okay, we need to talk more about that. Keep
okay,
going.
yeah. And so I'm vertically challenged. I'm 5'6". I'll say I'm 5'7", but I'm 5'6". And if you're going to be a leading man on Broadway, you generally, not always, but generally need to be taller than the leading lady. And so being vertically challenged, then I knew that I might be relegated to the sidekick type character, which would have been fine. But the reality is you're competing against tens of thousands of other out of work actors and actresses trying to make it big. And that is one of the toughest industries to be able to succeed and consistently succeed. So kudos to those that have accomplished that. And then finally, I found myself in criminology, and that's what I ended up. My undergraduate degree was in criminology with an emphasis in criminal profiling. And I just happened to then, after I got out of college, fall into an organization that they had an IT administrator that was coming 3 or 4 times a year to work on an issue. And I thought, well, that was intriguing. And so we started talking and decided to go back to school. And I think the whole reason what drew me to criminology with that kind of forensic investigative side is very much what IT is about, right? You're trying to solve problems and being able to understand, well, what's the root cause of the issue, and doing forensic and investigative sides of troubleshooting that issue. And so once I fell into IT, it was like, this is what I was created to do. And I absolutely love it. And every single day is a different day in the world of technology. And then you're able to couple that with working with people and then seeing the impact that you have in individuals' lives, if not organizations that can then benefit individuals' lives. You also feel like you are, making a difference, and you have a purpose within your life, and to be able to make money doing that is like, wow, that's a slam
Hit the
dunk.
jackpot, trifecta.
Yeah, exactly.
People, technology, and pay. Hey, that's a good combination. That's for sure. Well, man, I wish I could say that I knew some people that could help you get on Broadway, but that is definitely a piece of lacking in my network. So if there is anybody out there that has those connections, let's get Michael out there. I want to see this happen as a side hustle for Michael. But these are some of the things that I enjoy most about this show is like I learn new things about individuals that you wouldn't typically think of. Like our conversation has been you around being a leader within an organization, a C-level individual. But at the end of the day, like Michael, you're just a dude that wants to go and sing on Broadway. There's so many of us that want to go. Like, I wish I could go play basketball professionally. It's just not going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen.
I hit drums instead. Like those are some of the things that bring me an immense amount of joy, is the stuff outside of the work that we do. And your answer to the question of like, what motivates you? It's almost like not fair to ask the question anymore, because every single person I've had on this show, at one point, it comes back to the people. Like it is truly something that I enjoy, helping others achieve and accomplish what they want to, whether personal or professional. So, Michael, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on this show and providing some of the insight, both on you and your career, Fortium, and the work that they are doing to help organizations grow and expand even beyond what they thought they could. So I wish you guys the best as you continue to build that out in the organizations you get to serve. But before I take you off of here, my wife and I always want to show our own gratitude and appreciation for every guest that comes on this show. And we do that by allowing you to send a meal from More Than a Meal to an individual that would be deserving or in need of a gifted meal to them. So being willing to share as much or as little as you can about somebody and why you think they would be deserving of that gift, we'd love to hear a little bit about that individual.
Yeah. I have an individual in mind. His name is Brian, and his girlfriend Tracy is going through a challenging medical issue, and fortunately they're on the other side of that, and so there seems to be some progress being done in that particular issue. But yeah, I'd like to gift a meal to them because they've really had a challenging several months as they've kind of went through this journey, and so yeah, I would like to do that for them.
Awesome. Well, we'll be wishing Tracy the best, and we'll get in contact with them after the show here to make sure that we can get that scheduled at a time and day that works best for them. And Michael, if anybody that was tuning into this live or watching it down the road and they showed interest in hearing more about your potential career in Broadway or Fortium or just in general, like, hey, I'm going through this and this leadership situation. Like, what kind of advice, anything along those lines? I'm not a fan of like, hey, I want to pick your brain type mentalities, but what a way for them to get in contact with you? What best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is you can email me at michael.smith@fortiumpartners.com, and that's just FORTIUM partners.com. But they can also go out to Fortium's website, which is just fortiumpartners.com. And then they'll see a lot of different case studies, but also see the history of Fortium and why we are the largest leadership as a service firm in the United States.
Well, I'll echo in the sense too, if you cannot get a hold of Michael, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to get you guys connected from that standpoint. But Michael, we have reached the end of the show. We've done it. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that. If you have any last words that you want to throw out to our audience, I'll let you do that now. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and sign us off here.
Yeah, no, I think for individuals that are coming up in their career and new to their career, the thing that's most important and advice that I could provide is find what you absolutely love doing, because that is going to make all the difference. You're going to be passionate, you're going to be motivated, you're going to want to make a difference if you're doing what you truly love doing. And so take some time to really research and think about what is it that you would like to do within your career. And then there may be some trial and error as you kind of get to that point. But the ultimate goal is wake up every morning enjoying what you're doing.
Amen. Yeah. And I'll echo that, trial and error. You're not going to hit it. Not everybody hits it out of the park that first time, but learning a little bit of what you do like and enjoy is there's nothing wrong with trial and error on that end. So Michael, thanks again for those last words. And just a reminder to everybody tuning in, continue to strengthen those relationships with clients, employees, team members, families, whoever that may be, because ultimately, as Michael alluded to, and I will echo as well, is at the end of the day, to truly have an organization that is more than a business, it's going to be about the people. So with that, I'll go ahead and kick us off. Michael, thank you again. And we will see you guys next Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. We're going to have Sean Sullivan, the CEO over at Midland Care Connection. We're going to be talking about all things healthcare from that side of things as well. So tune in next week. And until then, have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you guys later.